Hello, we're the Israel Conference, and we're bringing you yet another episode of Conversations, fascinating discussions with business founders, industry influencers, and category creators. My name is Sharona Justman. I'm the co-founder of the Israel Conference, and we're very pleased today to be speaking with a great entrepreneur, Avi Yaron. During this pressure-filled time in Israel, we're meeting with Israeli entrepreneurs who are engaged in very cool business pursuits, as well as they're giving of their time to support the state of Israel through their extended military service or through noble nonprofit endeavors. We have a chance to meet with wonderful people who are making a difference in business and in the state. And today we're going to have a conversation with Avi. Avi, welcome.
Thank you.
So Avi, many years ago, I met you and I learned about your story and I was blown away. I learned that you had a motorcycle accident and the doctor came out and said, I have good news and bad news. The good news is you don't have a concussion. The bad news is you have a brain tumor and you have less than a year to live. Now, as any good Israeli entrepreneur, you decided that that was not going to be your fate. So what did you do from that point forward?
First of all, I assumed that it was too shocking to comprehend and agree with him. I saw two additional chairmen, neurosurgeons, and they provided different opinions. And after not knowing to which one should I go with, I just started learning medicine on my own. Again, not 7 years, but crash course over the next year and a half in the medical library of Tel Aviv University, seeking to understand, do I have 2 months or 2 years, seeking a surgeon that can save my life without leaving me crippled with epilepsy and cognitive malfunction. It was, I was extremely desperate. I had no hope, and I was not willing to give up. I mean, don't try it at home, not recommended.
And you studied the brain at that point where you previously had only used your brain?
I'm not sure I used my brain, but I had no other choice, so anatomy, biology, chemistry. My background is electrical engineering, and I was a lieutenant in 8200, so I was definitely clueless in medicine, but I found it so fascinating that many times I forgot that I was about to die and I'm here searching for something that can save my life. And it was a combination. And that probably also kept me excited and thrilled, because I invested months and months and months to figure out. And every time you think you understand, one step forward, 2 steps back, because you don't know what you don't know. But overall, it was a fascinating process.
So the journey took you from an inoperable brain tumor to you discovering a device, which is a non-invasive scope that could go into your skull and identify the location of the tumor?
So the journey took me, after 1.5 years, to a surgeon that was able to operate on me in a minimal invasive approach and resect the tumor without leaving me with a deficit. Saying that, he was still unable to resect the whole tumor, and he preferred to leave some residual behind and not to cause deficits, and he explained the need. And again, necessity is the mother of all needs, and I was so desperate that for the next 2 years I studied the way that the brain perceives stereoscopic vision and met the other developers, the Zeises and Olympuses, to understand why did they fail, and invented a completely different concept, which is minimal invasive, but it's basically a single chip, a few millimeters in size camera that it's more like a photonic camera than optical geometric, and it is able to present high quality stereoscopic vision in a tiny fashion. And this is what my surgeon needed to be able to insert it into the brain and to resect the residual tumor.
And this operation was clearly successful. How many years ago was that?
So first of all, it took 10 years to develop the camera, and it was a startup. Investors were not willing to invest, so voluntarily I had 3 more surgeries, 2 more in Germany and 1 in Israel, hell and back, to get rid of the tumor so I can raise money for the company. Overall, it took 6 years.
Wow. And the company, Vision Sense, came out of this discovery.
Yeah.
And you were able to help many, many other people with similar problems achieve positive results in their life.
So the company commercialized globally, and surgeons were able to develop new approaches, or approaches that were done only by a minority of surgeons became now the standard. So whether it's transnasal or key eyebrow or other very, very small openings to resecting tumors. So let's say that instead of me having 4 surgeries and I'm all holes here, luckily I have some hair, now in 6 months hospitalization for the first surgery and 4 months for the second and third, and horrible complications. Now it's done through the nose, full resection, the patient goes home the next day. So it's a revolution.
It is a revolution. Bravo to you. So let's fast forward. You've been involved with a lot of different companies in the medical device category, and now you've got a new company that you are putting your heart and soul into, calling it FIND Neuro. And tell us a little bit about what is FIND Neuro. We know the word find, we know the word neuro. How are you putting it together?
I try to focus my time to resolve extremely painful health issues. Epilepsy is a disease, a pretty common disease. 1% of the population will have epilepsy at any given moment. And there are many drugs that can eliminate seizures, epileptic seizures, but they basically can help only 2/3 of the people, meaning that 1/3 of the people will take these pharmaceutical, will suffer the side effects, and will still have seizures. And because they lose hope, many of them develop depression. They basically lose trust in themselves. They lose confidence. It's a horrible situation, and there's no hope. FIND Neuro was co-founded by a brilliant Israeli scientist that did his postdoc in Harvard. Stephen Staffelbeam was the head of the lab, and me. And what we do is it's a cloud-based system that integrates the MRI, EEG, which is electronic readout of the brain, and MEG, which is magnetic readout of the brain. And we're able to understand the network of the epilepsy and to understand the critical nodes, so that for the first time, instead of talking about focal point, which is a very rough estimate, which is not good enough clinically, we can now provide the surgeon the very accurate points that need to be removed. Now, removal could be with surgical resection, could be surgical ablation, or the surgeon could elect to utilize neuromodulation. And the question is, how do you decide? Because this is really... So what we do is we cluster the behavior of this epileptic network, and then we seek among tens of thousands of previous surgery the most similar cases. And in addition to presenting the surgeon with the critical nodes, we also present past history of if a surgeon did this or that, these are the odds, these are the risks. Now, it's not only beneficial for surgeons, it's also beneficial for the patients that are really led by fear. And because it's a horrible surgery. And now they can be presented with actual figures, and they can better understand their future and destiny.
What percentage of the population in general is drug resistant when they have epilepsy?
So 1/3 of epilepsy patients will be drug resistant.
And that's quite a large number. Is that mostly women, mostly men, or is it not clear yet what the population distribution is?
The distribution is even among not only male and female, but also among ages. It can be young children, it can be adults and older. There is a higher tendency among people that had traumatic brain injury, people that suffer autism or many other brain malfunctions. One of the most devastating issues is SUDEP. It's called sudden death during sleep. 1% of these people die during their sleep suddenly
from epilepsy.
From epilepsy. No one understands now why to this date. It's just devastating.
That's it can be devastating for the whole family, but of course for the patient. The question is this information that FIND Neuro is providing, is that directed towards the doctor or is it directed towards the patient?
So it's directed towards the doctor. It's a decision support system, and the doctor can decide how will he be using it, and he can decide to share it with the patient to reduce, the stress and fear level.
Does it fall into the category of artificial intelligence, large database, you're collecting information? And also, to what extent do you need the permission of other epilepsy patients and candidates to release their information in order to add it to this data set?
Yeah. So first of all, of course, it's a serious AI, serious big data. All the data is anonymized, okay? And because this solution still did not receive the FDA clearance, we're working under IRB, okay? So every patient has to sign informed consent.
All right. And why do you need the FDA approval for FIND Neuro?
I mean, this is a very serious solution. I think it should and will become the standard of care of drug-resistant epilepsy. And there is a lot of responsibility here. And surgeons are used to using FDA-cleared solutions. And this is the norm. So there is no reason for us not to go through FDA.
All right. And as a young company, as an earlier stage company, how are you finding revenue and how are you finding funding?
You would like me to start crying or something? So to close the first investment of $500,000 as a safe took 2 years because investors were in disbelief of this new science. And only after we presented a follow-up of 26 patients and the significant results, only then we were able to close with a Singaporean fund. We're now in the process of extending this safe to $1 million. Revenues will be incurred only after the FDA clearance in approximately 18 months. And then it's approximately $5,000 per patient analysis.
Okay, fairly reasonable. Is there an insurance code after the FDA gives its approval?
So we will not seek any reimbursement. The treatments are covered by reimbursement. We are relying on the fact that we support here or enable a surgery that is win-win for all stakeholders. I mean, the patients will get better life. The surgeon is able to help their patients, not to mention, make money from the procedure. The hospital makes a lot of money and the insurance will save a lot of money. So it's win-win all across the board.
And most importantly, you're going to save thousands of lives in this process and produce also better quality of life for those who suffer from epilepsy.
Yeah, so in the US alone, you have 1.2 million people
Wow.
that suffer drug-resistant epilepsy. In the world, 7 million. These are big numbers. $40 billion is spent annually on epilepsy. Now, in the US alone, 99% is on drug-resistant epilepsy.
Well, you've hit upon yet another life-saving quality of life solution. And Avi, we're going to be watching and hoping that the FDA approves, that you get funding, and that you have tons and tons of doctors and hospitals who can deliver great solutions for patients. That's under FIND Neuro.
So first of all, thank you. And thank you also for your heart, warm heart, and your, I know you for many years and the phenomenal work that you're doing to help Israel.
It's my pleasure. And in this time that's extremely painful to watch what's going on in Israel since October 7th, since Hamas attacked Israel, since Hamas butchered our beautiful Israeli brothers and sisters, we are all doing something to help Israel. I always consider that no matter where we are in the world, we can all do one small thing, and combined and collectively, that will contribute to the good of Israel. You probably have been doing a lot of great things in your free time, since you have very limited free time and yet you maximize every minute. Can you talk a little bit about what you've been doing and what your children have been doing to help Israel since October 7th?
So first of all, whatever I'm doing, I think it's not enough because the country is in a dire state, okay? And the first thing is both of my children are serving. Jonathan, our son, is in Gaza, and Shani, our daughter, is in the Golan Heights. Both are fighters, okay? And I pray for them, and I pray for all the soldiers, to return home quick and safely after they finish doing whatever they need to do. My wife, who is a PhD student, throws all her studies and is focused. I mean, she's volunteering 24/7 with just so many activities. And obviously we're going out of our way. While the situation is devastating, it warms my heart to see how Israel is binded, and we're all brothers, okay? And everyone is so helpful and so welcoming and going out of their way, which, just like with my brain tumor, every negative has also positive. I don't wish anyone to have a brain tumor, and I don't wish anyone to fight a war, but there's always also a bright side.
Is there a specific organization that's captured your heart and interest that you want to talk about, that where either your wife is volunteering or you've been spending some time?
I would say that probably the most famous and just unbelievable is Achim Laneshek, Brothers in Arms, that are going out of their way and just resolving any possible issue. And they are so dynamic and so proactive that they have and are significantly influencing the results. And my wife sometimes goes at 11 p.m. to even pack sandwiches for the soldiers, okay? And they're like delivering and helping, and with agriculture, because, someone needs to pick the fruit and the veggies, and just in any area that you can think of, they're giving hand. And it's all beautiful, voluntarily work of tens of thousands of people.
It's a wonderful group. I understand there's over 50,000 Israelis in Israel who are volunteering their time, energy, money, equipment to help the society and to help the soldiers as well. There are so many people who have been displaced, and Brothers and Sisters for Israel.org is the organization that is marshaling all this energy together. That's a great group to talk about.
I think that generally speaking, you could see that when the Jews are in trouble, they all unite. And while he's beautiful, I would ask myself, why do we need to be in trouble to unite? Why can't we stay united all year long?
Well, we can. And those are choices, and I think that we are showing it right now, Avi. And with that, I want to give you a big hug, which you are famous for. And thank you so much for spending time to tell us about FIND Neuro, to tell us about how you develop Vision Sense, and how your entire family is dedicating to helping Israel achieve a great solution, resolution, and a glorious future. Thank you, Avi. Big hug. Shalom. To see more conversations with extraordinary Israeli entrepreneurs, visit theisraelconference.org.